When we ask God for things, and when we ask God to show us implications of how certain decisions are going to play out, if we're asking for respect from our people, or if we're asking to learn how to make beautiful decisions, God is going to put you through some disrespectful and ugly situations. For example, if you learn how to, or are learning how to draw boundaries better, God's going to put you in situations where you're going to have to draw those boundaries. You're going to have to be confrontational a little bit. And it's all because God is giving you what you need, and what you're asking for is going to be based on, what you're asking for in your prayer life in of itself is the walk with God. That's how it's always been for me anyway, and that's what I preach and what I talk on a lot. But there is a shift happening right now, and I've been particularly angry the last couple days, and this is also reflected in some of the situations. And I'm not vengeful or anything like that. It's more of a righteous indignation, and I'm very ready to transform this anger into something creative. And that's the right mindset to have. You want to use that for something better, because if you just are angry just to be angry, or if somebody makes you angry, I highly recommend, if somebody makes you angry, take 48 hours to even a week to even just take a step back and acknowledge what's happening and see whether or not this is actually something to be worked up about. Now, me, myself, I'm looking at the world, and God is carving this next breakthrough for many of you. I see this taking place. And some people are experiencing this overwhelming joy that's coming into their lives, and some people are experiencing anger, and some people are experiencing a bit of sadness as well. Everybody's in their particular season right now. Everybody's in a sowing season or a reaping season, and depending on what you've sowed is going to be what you reap, right? So that will be as it may. But God is giving us the opportunity for us to turn the key into the door so that we can unlock this door and move to the next series of games in this life. And God is giving you the ability to discern spirits. There are a lot of people that are under spiritual attacks right now. There are a lot of people that are under demonic attacks. People are dreaming about very peculiar things, or people are having peculiar experiences that they can't quite explain. I've had people tell me recently that they're experiencing for the first time seeing a demon on people's faces, and it's like, well, yeah, that's that's actually I'm not going to say it's normal, but it's more normal than normal people. Because if you're listening to NPCs out here and you're putting value on what the NPCs say more than what anybody else is saying, then particularly God, then you're going to reap some not so good things, because you're listening to the people that are sowing nothing. So obviously you're going to sow nothing and reap nothing. Well, God will give you what you work for. God will give you what you earn. But it's not always about earning God's love. This is a big thing and big difference that people have a difficult time with sometimes. But the damage that is occurring in the ostracization of the godly people that are aware is going to backfire on all of these people. You know how people are. Sometimes when you are putting people in a high regard, you respect this person, you admire this person, you look up to this person, and then God shows you who they really are. Are they really that person? Or are they really that guy? Are they really that girl? And God shows you who they really are. And you feel like you're a little bit let down. You know, everybody knows the song. Well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people knows the song by the Beatles. Don't let me down. That song I often think about, because it's a very catchy and uplifting tune, but it's a very not so happy song, really, according to the lyrics. And the people around us often seem to let us down. But that's not really the case, because God's just showing us what their characters are really like. Okay? These people don't have a philosophy of life. And I don't necessarily say that to have a philosophy is to have a life, because even though that's what a lot of the Stoics talk about, and we've been studying the legends of Stoicism in the Regal Change Academy recently, and we've talked a lot about the ancient Stoics, and this is what they believe. They believe that the only thing, as Marcus Aurelius says, the only thing that sticks to a man at the end of his life is philosophy. But I don't think that's the case, personally. I don't think that's the case, because it's everlasting life is what we're going to really have. Philosophy is a way to see the art in living what is true, but to actually live what is true takes a creative endeavor in of itself. And I see prayer, I kind of gave it away there, but I see the breath and just breathing as a form of prayer, and in a way an act of creation, because it takes, especially if you're conscious about your breath. This is why meditation is so important. And this is why meditation can also help you unlock that door. God will give you the door, God will give you the keys to that door, but you have to be the one to open it and to go through that new domain and to enter that new series of games, because life is a series of games, and life is something that is going to not always be very clear. It's not always going to be sunshine, rainbows, lollipops, and sugar and spice and all things nice like people want to believe. So many people want to go on vacations. They want to go do social activities on the weekends and such. And, that's fine and dandy. But, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with enjoying the fruits of your labor, but to do that consistently and continuously without ever seeking the nature of your soul, you're never going to get to that next level. You're never going to get to that true next spiritual level, because you're never going to be opening any doors that are going to be significant enough for you to see that there's potential for something more to be experienced. And you don't know how to rely and trust your own experience if you don't know how to get to those next levels. If you don't know how to get to the next levels, it's kind of worthless for you to even suggest that you know anything about life, because there's always going to be a next level. There's always going to be a next level. In this life, there is no finish line. And what I'm finding to do a lot of the time is to, specifically with semen retention, is to get people to the starting line. It seems like I'm just trying to get people to start this activity. And now I'm going to be catering these messages going forward to people that are on the path but are having more of a challenging time, and they want some more expertise and some mastery. People that have actually been through the thing, because people like this that I've had reaching out to me about the demons and seeing people's demons in their faces and such. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to happen all the time, but sometimes God will send you a warning, because these people are possessed by the demons. It's not really that they're walking zombies. They kind of seem like walking zombies, but it's that their soul has been hijacked. Their soul has been hijacked, and they've incrementally given their soul away to the devil. And sometimes it's so incremental that they don't even realize what they're doing. Anybody that's not seen the movie Nefarious, that's a brilliant, brilliant movie on how to see and what it's like for demons to incrementally possess you. Because what happens is people almost lose control of their bodies, right? They lose control of their body, and they lose control of not their thought, but their ability to control their body. And so they're conscious of everything happening. They're completely aware, but they don't know exactly why. And so what I've seen is a lot of people, when they give into lust per se, because that's an easy one for most people, male or female, to associate and understand with, if they give into lust, which, by the way, I was thinking about this earlier, lust is something that takes away the richness of the soul. And so it makes you believe that your external luxuries are going to be more valuable than the internal richness of your soul. And when that happens, what happens is that you start to see as lust as something that is easy for you to buy. And the devil can sell it to you easily because it's got this perverse quality to it. But if you don't see sex as perverse, if you don't see sex as something that's to be shunned, but to be understood, well, then it's not something that can be sold to you anymore. And that might be a breakthrough in of itself for somebody out there. And this is something that I think many men are struggling with, and many women don't even know how to take control back of their bodies, because they've given their soul away to so many men and demons themselves, to where they're just gone, man. Like, they are just gone. And when they lose control of their bodies, what's going to happen is they no longer have the ability to regulate their emotions. They don't have the ability to regulate their nervous system. They don't have the ability to cognitively function as well, because even though they're conscious, they're like, somebody can be conscious and yet act unconsciously. Okay, do you see the difference? Do you understand the difference? Maybe I ought to explain that a little bit more. So the difference between being conscious but acting unconsciously means that you are completely aware that there's things happening, but you don't know why you're doing things, or you don't know why you're acting in certain ways. I've had women in the past that I've talked to, like in the talking stage, and they'll try to test me in a certain way, which was completely disrespectful and uncalled for. And this was, years ago, but it was completely disrespectful and uncalled for the talking stage. And they would literally tell me, I really don't know why I did that. I have no clue why I did that. And I could tell that they actually didn't know. Like, this wasn't just another test. Okay, they actually didn't know why they lied in that way. They don't know why. And sometimes it's just because it's their instinct to test, right? But at the under end of the spectrum, it's that they absolutely have no critical faculty, and that's a demonically possessed person, where you bring out the demons in them. You being somebody that brings light to the situation, and you illuminate light to any situation that you walk into and that you're talking to with people, you're going to bring out their darkness, because they can't hide from you. They can't hide from you, and they like it because they're getting to a part of themselves that they don't really associate with very often, and it's helping them be discovered inside themselves and explore themselves. But I always say that I cannot really teach you how to go to the next level, or how to teach you anything really. At the end of the day, I can only teach you how to explore your relationship with God and with yourself. And that's an adventure. That's an adventure that many of these people are not ready for. They're just not ready for this adventure. But I can definitely feel a shift. There's a lot of sleep has been a very particular weird phenomenon recently. Some days I'm sleeping fantastic, and I've noticed that the more I dream, when I wake up, I'm a lot more rested. And then there's times where I'll sleep for 5 or 6 hours, and I'll sleep soundly for those 5 or 6 hours, won't wake up or anything, but then I'll just be awake and I won't be able to go back to sleep. Up until this last year and a half or so, maybe year, I've never really had sleep problems. And it was, I guess it would have actually been around the time of Trump's assassination attempt the first time. And that was really when my sleep pattern, that's something interesting to ponder on. That's when my sleep pattern started to get really more disrupted, because it's like I could sense something big was coming. And even when the election happened in November, it's like, things are too calm. Things are too calm. And now everything, I don't know, everything seems orchestrated at this point. Everything seems orchestrated, in which I understand that it is for the most part. Things are made to happen, right? Things are made to happen in the government that we have, but there's a big shift happening, and I think it's starting to affect the collective consciousness on a different level. And I think that's one of the reasons why me and a few other people that I know in the Regal Change Academy and in my mentorship calls that I do, there's something happening where something's disturbing our spirits, for sure. And especially if it's, the case that multiple people are experiencing these kinds of things simultaneously. And I do understand also that every time you have a community, you're operating as a collective hive consciousness of some sort. But at the same time, it's very peculiar to see this kind of stuff happen at the rate that it's happening. But there's definitely a shift happening, and God is definitely carving and forging your breakthrough. But what it's going to take to get there, well, you're going to have to be the one to open that door. So we'll see, and you let us know what happens. But I hope that this video was useful and insightful for you all. I do appreciate everybody that has been supporting this channel and supporting me on the other platforms like X and Rumble and Instagram, as well as YouTube. And I appreciate everybody that is subscribed to the channel's followers, or that is leaving comments or likes. If you do want to join the elite spiritual group in the Regal Change Academy, we have the paid community now. Links are in the description box below. And we no longer have the free Discord channel, but we do have the Telegram subscription, which is free, that you can check out. And that's going to be daily quotes and insights that I'll give. And all of those are deleted within 24 hours. So if you want to sign up for that, there's a link in the description box below for it. Peace be with you all. Until next time.